lounging, son.
All right, welcome back to the Comic Lounge. Back with me again, like we promised. Dylan's back. We're doing some more episodes. We are going to be talking about a lot of stories. Like I said before, we're gonna new, old, all the stuff. But one of these episodes that we had discussed, Dylan had a recommendation, but I kind of jumped the gun with this one because I've been wanting to reread it. Talking Green Arrow Year One by Andy Diggle and Jock. Now,
I'm just gonna go forward and say I'm gonna reserve all my Green Arrow reading for reading with you.
I think I already asked you about another one, right? Did I ask you to do another one?
No, I'm like all Green Arrow, whatever. If I ever read Green Arrow, I'm gonna read it with you so that way we can discuss. Because slowly but surely, Green Arrow is growing on me like a MFer, like a big ass motherfucker. I love this story by far, like the retelling of the origin, like. One of my favorite things about this was the internal narrative that Ollie gives himself. Like, this is such a good. This is
Andy Diggle. To me, like this is probably my favorite of what he's written. I know he did. He had his Daredevil run, which, way better. So. He did his Daredevil. He's done The Losers, which got adapted, which is a remake of an old property from the 50s at DC. Like he did that with Vertigo, and then he did an Adam Strange miniseries, which is really good. But this to me is the high water mark for me. Like this is what I like the best, and it's funny because going back and this came out. I mean, let me get the exact year. So this came out in 2007, right? And this is well before the show Arrow ever came out. But there is so much of Arrow in this book. First of all, one of the main characters first season of Arrow is called Diggle, right? Like there's a guy named that's obviously a nod to him. And then China White or China Wen.
China Wen.
Yeah. Is also, she's the main character. She's like one of the main kind of like sub adversaries, I would say. Like not a major focal point, but definitely a focal point at times, right? So it's cool to kind of see that in like that influence definitely from here into that. I just love. It's Jock.
Honestly that first season of Arrow was like my favorite. Like out of all like CW stuff, I always give the CW stuff like a first season try, and I will have to say like Arrow like didn't disappoint. Flash,
there's moments of Flash that are good. Arrow, I've been rewatching, so I'm at season 4 again. And I remember how much I did not like season 4 because it just goes into a place where it's like there's magic, it's Damien Dark. Like to me, the pinnacle of the show is season 2 and 3. 2 with Deathstroke, and then 3 with Ra's al Ghul. Like I love the actor that played Ra's al Ghul on there. And then that to me, that Deathstroke is my definitive like Deathstroke. Like, if they ever were to make a live action Deathstroke again, I would be more than happy if they went back with that actor because he fucking killed it. He's like the best Slade Wilson besides the comic book version. But I'm
that's what's his name from what do you call him? Critical Role, right?
His name's Manu Bennett, I think.
Okay. Oh, that's who it is. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking about the other guy, the Deathstroke on Titans, I believe. No.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I haven't watched that. I have mixed feelings on that show. But anyways, so like there's an intro. I'm not going to go into the whole intro, but Brian K. Vaughan says it good. Like if you're going to use the year 1 title, like that holds a lot of weight. It has to be good. And I think Diggle and Jock did a phenomenal job of the way they handled this year 1 because you don't see him as Green Arrow. Like we don't. In Batman year 1, you see him in costume. You see him in full costume. This is all about like Ollie's rebirth. Of this kind of douchebag rich person that he was before, and now how how he's kind of rediscovering who he is, as a person, and like not being the selfish person anymore, and like kind of being like I love like how he's like one with like the jungle at a certain point. I love how you see like how his archery and stuff. Why he likes archery. I thought that was a dope nod to like the old Robin Hood stuff.
Yeah, and like I said, like the narrative, right? The narrative, it's there's not a lot. I mean, there is a lot of it, but not in a sense where it's like like where it feels like it's just giving you too much information. It's just literally giving you Ollie's there and now, right? And you see the progression from like the moment from the moment he like gets onto the island and realizes he's alone. It goes into this you start seeing his thought patterns and stuff, right? Like, oh, here, I need this, I got everything I need here. Nope, can't use that. Nope, here we go. Oh, wait, like, you know what I mean? And it's like he turns into this complete survivalist after all the thrill seeking and all that. He becomes like this self-efficient. Like he went from having, you know, a literal bodyguard, an assistant, and a driver, becoming the ultimate survivalist, right? And
Yeah.
the complete independence. Like what I love is like the progression. Like before he finds the arrow and he's trying to look for water, trying to find food, he eats the fish raw, and he
Yeah.
throws and he
Yeah, he
throws it up,
pukes
right?
immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, he pukes immediately, and he's like searching for water, and it's like, you know, there's a moment where he's drinking that water out of the gas canister, and he's like, it tastes like mud and rust and gasoline, but it's the best water I ever tasted, because he freaking earned it, right? He earned that clean water. But that was like, I feel like that was the first moment of like, I can do this. I can survive here. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's a different Oliver Queen than we've ever seen, right? We all heard the story of the rich kid, the womanizer, and stuff like that. You know, and I want to just look at that striking cover to number 1.
Yeah,
like, the covers alone are really dope, but and then the cold open where it's just like this green arrow, but it's on the fucking compass,
and it's
pan out, and then you go, and then you have this fucking double page spread, which is just like, look at that. You just see the scope of like what he's doing.
Vast nothing. And I like how like they're like, we just hit true north. We just hit the northernmost part. The compass doesn't even know where it's going.
Mm-hmm. And like, but the difference here too is he's an adrenaline junkie. That's something that was new, that was added to his past. That was never a part of it. The booze and the women was always prevalent, but the fact that he's just a thrill seeker, like jumping out of airplanes and like scaling mountains, you know what I mean, stuff like that. But I love this line that his bodyguard tells him, like, this is what sets us up. He's like, there's something missing in you, Ollie, and until you figure out what it is, nothing, the booze, the women, all this pointless adrenaline junkie crap, none of it's ever going to be enough to fill the hole. And that like sets you up for the entire story, because like, you know, he's at this fundraiser and he's fucking just sloshed,
just hammered,
just talking shit to all these rich people about their money, and like, oh, instead of doing this with your money, maybe you should do this, you know.
We were going down to the ghetto and giving all the giving all the drug addicts clean needles, but that's not what we're doing.
And then he bids on that bow and arrow that was the prop of the stunt double, right? I think it's a stunt double, or it's the
it's the archer
that did the scenes.
Did all the shots, that did all the archery scenes. Yeah,
I guess so. It's kind of like a stunt double, right? Because it's not the main actor, so sort of the stunt double. But he bids on this like bow and arrow with the arrows. Also, he goes from 1,000, and he's just like 100,000. You know, and he takes it. Yeah, just hammered, falling all over himself. You know, getting up on stage and just falling down. But you know, then he's like, he needs to get out of town, and like, this is what sets him up to get to the island, is because his bodyguard is like, oh, I'm gonna go do this business. He's like, no, you stay home. He's like, no, I pay you, I'm going on that yacht with you. And then, like, you know, he gets little does he know
that it was all a setup. He was never gonna like turn in that money. He was never gonna do anything. It was basically like just a sham job. A literal sham job where, hey, give me this money, I'll go buy something for you, and then I'll give you the return later. But it's all black market stuff. It's all like offshore companies doing all that stuff. He embezzlement. He could have gotten in trouble. But like, you know, it wasn't that at all. His bodyguard was just gonna walk away with the 14 million. Like, and then Ollie, being the hard head that he is, he's like, no, I'm going. And then, you know, in turn, that's what leaves him getting stranded on the island.
I know, and I love how he's just on the boat and he's like shooting in the water and stuff, and he's like missing, and he's like, okay, I guess my archery skills aren't what I thought they were. But it's funny that he says that he was so enamored with Robin Hood in that story that he was trained in archery as a kid, and his trainer said, man, you have a natural gift.
It was the actual archer. It was the guy.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, the guy.
Howard Hill.
His name escapes me. Howard Hill. There it is.
So that's right. He told me he had a natural gift, but he just kind of ignored it, right? Like, and just went about his way and became the man that he is. And then the realization that this dude is fucking not blackmailing him, is betraying his trust, Like, what does he do? He fucking points the arrow straight at him. He like doesn't even hesitate, dude. Runs at him. The dude's got a gun on him. He's like, you're not gonna shoot me. He's like, you're my friend. And that's where like it's pivotal, because things could have gone a completely different way. He was tasked with fucking putting 2 bullets in Ollie's head to make sure he was dead, and he doesn't. He just like, he can't do it at the end, and just fucking throws him overboard.
So here's the thing about the whole throwing overboard thing, right? That always gets me about like anything, about any story where you hear someone gets thrown overboard and they wash up on the shore, from Green Arrow to Castaway to Moana, right? Like, how are they unconscious in the water and they survive long enough for them to wash ashore? Like, I will never understand.
The only thing I can think of is that they float. Because like when you're in the pool, and it's probably different when you're like aware of your fact that you're in the pool, you're gonna naturally try to move to stay up. Yeah. But if you're not, if you just like let your body go limp, you do float, you know? I just think that when we're conscious, we can't do it. So that's where I allow myself to, like, that's what I tell myself. Yeah, when they float. Because obviously, why don't you just sink and drown and you're dead? You know?
Right. Yeah. And I'm just sitting here like, from like literally all the stories where we hear people washing up on shore, it's like what? How did you do that? Like, we're talking about like crazy shipwrecks too, right? Yeah. Like but anyway, this guy, but Ollie literally gets knocked unconscious, like literally, like pistol whip, bonked on the head, concussion probably.
Oh, for sure.
You just get dumped in the water, and then he washes up ashore. And
I love this too. This realization when he's the scope of it. He's like, nobody knows I'm here, so he knows he's fucked. He knows that like nobody's gonna come to rescue him. Right. He's all by himself, and he like accepts it. And I think it's pretty crazy how he immediately goes into survival mode, like you were saying. Like he does. He does not hesitate. He realizes, shit, I got to do something. I got to, I need fucking water. And so he just walks.
That's what it is. I need water. I'm going to die if I don't get water. I like that he builds a freaking compound bow out of scraps from what looks like a washing machine.
Yeah, it's a generator.
Oh, it's a generator.
A pump generator. Yeah, which is weird because he like just kind of accepts that there was like at one point there was like people over here.
Yeah.
But he doesn't think to look for anybody. He just kind of like uses what he sees. Like there's this like tunnel that goes down underneath, and there's dead bodies under there. But that again doesn't deter him. He just immediately is in survival mode. But then he passes out again on the beach because of like the heat stroke. Like I would say he's fucking suffering from heat stroke is what.
Yeah. He's definitely suffering from heat stroke. I mean, the simple fact that he went like probably days without drinkable water, and then what little energy he had, he threw it all up trying to eat the raw fish, right?
You know, the visceralness of that image of him like with the fish in his hand, and you just see the blood. It's funny because like he's this rich kid. You know, he's fucking been privileged his whole life, but like when you're put in this situation, what do you do? And I love that because then you get to the core of who he is as a human being. Like he's way more than what people perceive him as, this womanizer, this booze guy, this thrill seeker. This is the real Oliver Queen coming to the surface. And I love that because you just continue to see the growth. And that's why I love that they stuck with him just on the island, because it does make sense. I mean, he was stranded there for for a long time. It's not like the first year of him being who he is now was in Star City or Seattle or wherever he goes. The beginning of him, the beginning of Green Arrow takes place on this island.
No, and like there's a defining moment when he finally, like, who knows how long he's been there, right? He's been there months, years, days, like, you know what I mean, all that. But when a plane, he finally sees a plane, right? Yeah. And he's like, he tries to signal flare them, and then it turns out they're hostile. Like there's this pose that he does, like when after they try to shoot him and he ducks out of the way. This one right here, this pose right here.
Yeah.
Like that is the most Green Arrow shit ever. And everything that happens, like you get the plane circling around, coming around for another pass. I should run, hide, but that's not that. But that was the old Oliver Queen. That's not who I am anymore. I am a hunter, and it's literally just like the last page of that chapter, that issue is like literally him going toe to toe with a plane and with just a makeshift compound bow and arrow, and his arrow is literally a stick with a nail in it.
No, it's awesome.
Like,
I know. I
dude,
mean, I
it's
love the way he has this hood too, like how he makes, because obviously it is also the fascination with Robin Hood, which is why he
yeah,
does that, but also just to protect him from the sun,
yeah,
so he does not getting burned. But yeah, and then the following page where he is going toe to toe with that plate, he's just like
yeah,
squaring up, dude, a game of chicken, like he
yeah.
doesn't back down.
No, it's great. And like, continuously throughout this, it's like more and more defining moments as to why Ollie thinks like this. Like, they add they add the element of there were people on that island. There were people on that island, and these people have been enslaved. And by who else? By freaking China White.
Yeah.
Right.
And what are they doing? They're harvesting fucking opium from fucking
Yep.
poppies, which is going to become heroin. Like it's this
Yeah.
whole and it's funny because like he climbs up. The whole reason he even discovers that is because he's climbing up to see the plane wreck, and
Yeah.
then there's just poppies, and he's like, "Oh my god, no wonder they want." Then he realizes why they were shooting at him and they want him dead. Like he just discovered something he's not supposed to discover.
Yeah, and we're talking about like an ancient volcano filled, ancient volcanoes. That's the most fertile of all soil because it's like direct from the core of the earth. So like we're talking about a whole ass field. We're talking about billions of dollars in heroin, billions of dollars
Yeah.
in poppies. Like, and he's just like just discovered it all. He figured it out. Why he figured out why he was so close to where he was so close because everything starts to fall into place. Like his old bodyguard is involved. He finds his old ship. Like, you know what I mean? This is a
where the
really
hero
well
comes.
thought. Yeah, this is such a well thought out story. Like everything that defines the character of Oliver Queen, that defines the character of Green Arrow, is presented here, and it's given a reason and it's given an origin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
like
it's a slow build. Like he doesn't. Yes, he instantly goes to survival mode, but you are seeing like a little bit of progression, even so much as the progression of like how he like starts like amping up his gear, like how he's
yeah,
like, okay, I need these boots. Okay, now I got to get the glove for my hand, to help
yeah,
with when he's pulling on the arrows. But then that moment when he sees this pregnant woman who comes up while he's in the field of the poppies, and he's like, kind of animals would enslave a pregnant woman, and that's to me, that's the moment that when he pulls that glove on, it's like that
yeah,
defining moment of like he's now becoming a hero. He's not thinking just about himself and
yeah.
surviving. He's thinking about somebody. He's thinking about
Thinking
the
about
rest of the
somebody
people.
else.
Yeah.
He's thinking about somebody else, and like, everything starts to play. It starts to everything starts to fall into place. Like you start to see his compassion starts to grow because it's like he can do something. He's starting to realize he's just one man and he can do something. He's not super powered. He's not nothing. He's like literally he's literally everything you would hate in a guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just everything. He was a complete douchebag. Like, and now we're seeing him under this green light where it's like he's beginning to realize he can do more with less. And
I know. And then when he sees Hackett, his former bodyguard in there, that he realizes where all that money went, and it was to fund this fucking massive drug mule fucking whole drug trade, right? Oh man, I love this is where the coloring by David Barron, who I have to mention, like I love his coloring. One of the best colors in the biz. I think people like he usually is the colorist for Jock, I think for the most part. But this, when you just get all green and Ollie's hunting, I love that.
Yeah,
Dude.
no, that's it's one of the best things, and the dialogue between the two too. It's like because like in that period of time where they haven't seen each other, Ollie is just completely changed, and you can tell just by the way he's talking about everything. Right? He's just the way like, wait, where is it? Like the way Hackett is talking to him and saying, "I'd rather be dead." And like, no, like, I'd rather have you kill me than have her catch me, right? And then you'll see some stuff later on about that part. You see how vicious China White really is. But like,
but I like when Ollie's talking, you because you've also mentioned more than once, but his inner dialogue, like when he's starting the hunt, it says, "I've been killing for survival for as long as I've been on this island. Hackett's just another animal to me. So why do I hesitate?" So like he's looking at it from the hunter, but then there's also the humanity of where like he's not a killer yet. I mean, and look, Oliver Queen is a killer. He's killed in the comics. It's not a secret, So when people got mad about that, I think probably people, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I think people might have got mad about that on the show that he was a killer, but dude, he is. that he's done it in the comics. He's crossed that line, you know, more than once. Just like, the back and forth and stuff between them, the dialogue is just, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's the writing in here is just, it's my favorite of Andy Diggle's by far.
Yeah, no, this is great. I also like you know, after the confrontation between him and Hackett, what do you call it? The pregnant woman discovers him again, right? And what's crazy about this is something that they didn't even have to like include. They could have like went about it another way, where she's like, you know, to help, she's like having him heal, helping him heal, and to nullify the pain, she starts having him smoke opium, which is crazy, right? It's like, holy shit. I mean, he has nothing else, right? There's no anesthetics, there's no alcohol, there's no nothing.
Because that fucking bone like popped out of the skin, dude, you know, like, and he passed out, and like she fucking saves him, and like she's like, I gotta reset it. And then you just see the opium like go out of his nose too.
And then a couple pages after, like he goes into the stupor, like they do this whole, it's just one page. It's this page right here where like they do a whole like little psychedelic trip. There's eyes and a statue, and he starts freaking out. But then like that short amount of time, he gets hooked, and like that kind of shows you how quick it is for someone to get hooked on opium, even if it's just for pain and medications. And like he literally has like a complete mood, you know, a drug addict's mood swing, right?
Yep.
It's crazy, and it's like,
I mean, look at it. He's even like, I could use another hit. And she's like, no more for you. I think it's time to wean you off the opium. And that's when he gets mad, dude. But it's true, because like, look, I'm a recovering alcoholic addict. So like, I know that feeling, you know, and with opiates, it's like one of the worst addictions you can have, because it's such a quick addiction. Like, it's because they say all it takes is 3 days to build a habit, and with that it is, because if you're doing 3 days straight, the fourth day you don't have it, you're sick, you're antsy, you're irritated, and it only gets worse. And that's why she's like, no, I'm cutting you off, you know, before it gets out of control. She's like, you're becoming dependent. He's like, don't hold out on me. And it's like, dude, this right here is done so perfectly, because this is exactly what an addict would do. If you're keeping them do and say, because when you're keeping them from what they need or what they feel they need, like, it doesn't matter.
They're this freaking addiction monster. It's crazy. And you know, that's, I think they encapsulated that, and they didn't dwell on it too. Like, you know what I mean? It's part of the
2 or 3 pages.
It's part of the story. It's integral, but it's also like, you know, going down the line and like just knowing the history of the Green Arrow. Like, you know what I mean? Knowing the history of the Green Arrow, like, you know that he's very against drugs, he's very against drugs and very against anything that will hurt the common man, right? And like, what's the main thing plaguing the common man? Addiction.
Yep.
Addiction and crime, and but you know what I mean? I just love it. I love how there's these little tidbits in like basically every chapter, every issue of this 6-issue series, where it adds to the lore and adds to the character of the Green Arrow. Like, it makes sense. Diggle touches on everything about Ollie that makes him great, right?
Agreed. Yeah, I love too the purple pages. David Barron said purple's his favorite color to use. I asked him that because I interviewed him like a couple of years ago, and I was like, "What?" Yeah, I just curious because, hey, dude, I mean, I'm sure like colors have a favorite color, and purple is his. And it's funny that I remembered that just now as we were flipping through, because I'm like, oh man, this is all purple.
And what's crazy,
this yacht, you know?
Yeah, and what's crazy about it is like, you know, during this whole thing, like when he's finally running away, when he finally gets away and he finally discovers his boat, it starts off green, and then immediately on the next panel down, right?
Yeah.
On the next panel down, it goes into purple, but then right here, it's where you start the freaking where he starts coming down. Where he starts coming down off of the opium, and the way they talk about it, like, like some spasms and the gut wrenching, and you like, you know, you're throwing up, nothing's coming out, like your stomach's just about to explode, like all these crazy things that's just like wrapped up. Like, you know what it reminds me of? I mean, I've never done heroin, but you know what it reminds me of? It's like Train Spotting, when they're talking about
that's an extreme, but it's
but you know what I mean?
No, like I said, it's very accurate, because that is like, I have done it, and it's a horrible fucking thing, and there's nothing. Well, obviously there's nothing good about it. It's just like one of the worst things you can ever experience is doing that, you know. But yeah, it's funny you mentioned Train Spotting because like I still think about that sometimes. And I'm like, man, they go so hard at it, like the complete like they go like way past where you should probably go, in terms of like depicting it. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I love when he discovers the ship too, because like then we get that awesome scene of him getting his bow.
Yeah.
Back, like now he's got his actual bow that he paid $100,000,
$100,000 for.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's like a simple yew wood bow with like catgut with a catgut string. I like how they described it. I'm like, damn, that's pretty crazy. They used to make bows out of catguts, but all right,
that's weird.
Yeah, but like the again the internal dialogue. It's and then I see it still lying there on the deck where I dropped it a lifetime ago. It's been waiting for me. It's always been waiting, and boom, like there it is. And then he finds the arrows, because remember when he bought the bow, it came with 10 Olympic grade arrows. So those things are made to kill whatever they're whatever they're aimed at.
Mm-hmm. And then he sets the boat on fire to draw them out to him, like just fearless, dude. Like, but I think it also plays into the cockiness of Oliver Queen, because that also is a part of his personality. He's very cocky. He's got an ego on him, and even though he becomes a hero, that doesn't ever go away. So him lighting a boat on fire with all he has are 10 arrows and to go against an entire army of people, I think is like, it's dope to look at as a reader and a fan, but it's also like, if you think about it realistically, like, dude, you're asking to die.
That's the dumbest shit ever.
Yeah.
Like it all plays into his whole obsession with Robin Hood. Right. Because, Robin Hood did that. Robin Hood went up against the whole battalion of like the sheriff's men, the Sheriff Nottingham's men. So why not? He can do the same. Like he figures he could do the same, and that's exactly what he's like executes, right? Especially you say that going in, lighting the boat on fire and going up with 10 arrows. You think that's bravado? No, the bravado is him going into the base. Is him going into the base, not a plan at all. There's even a moment where it's like, oh, so I'm in now, but now what? He doesn't even. There isn't even a plan.
No thought.
There.
No thought of what's next. Yeah, but we also get the first trick arrow that he ever has, right? Because he unscrews the fucking arrowhead and he calls it a knockout arrow. When he fucking shoots one of the guards down. Just
freaking hits him in the temple, gives him a concussion. There it is. Just go unconscious. But then he starts using other trick arrows. He starts putting flares to arrows. He starts it's crazy. There's just so much evolution, and it doesn't feel forced, right? It doesn't feel like none of it feels like it doesn't make sense. It's like, oh, he found a flare. Boom, I'm gonna use the flare and light this freaking giant gasoline tanker on fire. Boom, trick arrow. I'm gonna take off this arrowhead and just knock these guys unconscious. Boom, trick arrow. Like
it makes it so that the trick arrows aren't a gimmick. There's a reason and a thought behind what he's doing. I love that.
It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel gimmicky. It all comes together so naturally. Andy Diggle just wrote this story so naturally that everything makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we don't get a punching bag on an arrow, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, a punching glove on an arrow, but all this stuff is like, this is a really well thought out and well written story. Like, it's just, I mean, Brian K. Vaughan says it himself, like, you have that first issue, and sometimes even less than that. But this, like, from the moment it starts to the moment it ends, like, I literally read it last night. I was planning, I'll read half of it this morning. I mean, I'll read half of it like at night, and then I'll read half of it in the morning, so that way my mind's fresh. But no, I couldn't stop. This is adding to me liking Green Arrow. Like I said, I'm reserving all my Green Arrow stories from you, but so far, out of the ones we read, this is my favorite.
I still remember the day that we went to Spiro's and I got you to buy the
Longbow Hunters. Yeah. Longbow Hunters.
That's
and that's saying a lot, because Longbow, but that's saying a lot too, because Longbow Hunters was so fucking tight, dude. Mm-hmm. Longbow Hunters was so dope. It's such a testament of the time of when that was written. And the thing is, it still stands today. It still holds. And I feel like this is up there with that. You know what I mean? This is a very definitive. for every superhero, there's a definitive issues and definitive story arcs, and I feel that year one and Longbow Hunters for the Green Arrow is definitely like two must reads for the lore.
Oh, for sure. I mean? And this is definitely like the way it's set up. It doesn't date itself at any point throughout the story. It never does, and I think that's a good quality to have. But yeah, I mean, there is a lot of great. I mean, like the Kevin Smith stuff, phenomenal. Brad Meltzer, phenomenal. Judd Winnick did a great run for like years on Green Arrow. But this one, like from beginning to end,
would you go so far to say as like the Green Arrow is like DC's Daredevil, where it's just like the runs are consistent enough? Or have there been bad runs?
I don't know that I'd say that. Plus,
because
people's comparison is usually Nightwing with Daredevil. A lot of people will say that because of like the carefree, the kind of swashbuckling nature of Nightwing, because he was a circus performer, is kind of similar a little bit with Daredevil. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know, because there's great runs of Green Arrow, but I haven't read every single thing. Like I've read the entire Mike Grell stuff. I have not read the Chuck Dixon. But when Kevin Smith launched it in 2000 or 2001, whatever year it came out, it was consistently good that entire time. From the minute that first issue dropped until the last issue Judd Winnick did, which is when it becomes Green Arrow Black Canary. And then I think JT Kroll did one for Brightest Day. But like, look, there's been a little bit of like, small points where I'm like, it's all right. It's not great, but it's all right. But then you look at Jeff Lemire too. I think the beginning of New 52, I was not a fan of. I did not like that stuff. But, like, I think a lot of people didn't like a majority of New 52 stuff, what they did to some of the characters, because they got rid of what made the characters great a little bit. They didn't necessarily go back to basics, which is what this story does. This story went back to basics, but it did it in a way that felt fresh, that felt additive to the lore of Green Arrow without taking anything away. And like you said, like from beginning to end, and I love what Brian K. Vaughan said, because it's so true. It's even truer now than it was when he wrote that forward. Yeah. About how people instantly, like if they don't like a book, they drop it. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I'll just wait for a trade. Like when I was working
sometimes
at the
they'll be
shop,
good. Yeah. Sometimes there'll be books that I like, right? Sometimes there'll be books that I like, and I'll be like, but the story isn't enthralling enough to the point where like, I'm going to get every 6 issues. Sometimes it's like, it's good enough for me to be like, I'll just wait. Right. But this, like, I'm sure if I was freaking aware that it was when I was, I was reading comics, like this is like during that stagnant period where I wasn't reading
comics. For me. I didn't get this till it was in trade.
Yeah. There's like stagnant period when I wasn't reading comics, but I know if I would have like picked this up at a shop and just even from the first pages, I would have been instantly hooked, because I was instantly hooked literally when I was reading this last night. And Green Arrow is quickly rising the ranks on my favorites.
I mean, he's probably got one of the most prominent spots on my arm for my sleeve that has, all the DC characters.
Yeah, because, like literally right there. Yeah. Like literally right there.
Right there. Because I just love Green Arrow, dude. Like I still will like buy different formats. Like I had the soft cover of this. I was like, I gotta get the hardcover. I gotta get the deluxe because it's one of my favorite stories. And that's why I'm like, I gotta talk about it soon, because it's sitting on my shelf and I just want to read it already, and I want to talk about it with somebody. And like, yeah, I mean, we've already talked Longbow Hunters, you and I. We've talked Quiver by Kevin Smith. Yeah. And like obviously I'll say now we're already planning to do the Lemire Sorrentino stuff coming up too, so that'll be fun. But yeah, if you guys haven't checked out Green Arrow year one, like go get it. It's one of the best DC comics. I think it's to me, it's like what I would consider, like you talk about how they have definitive stories. Like to me, this is like evergreen, where this should always be like a book that's like, when you talk DC essentials and you break it down by character, this should be in there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then, year one is ever since the Batman year one, right? Every time they put the tag on year one to anything. Actually, like when I was making music, like me and my friends, we actually had like a compilation of all the stuff we did in the first year, and I literally titled that album, that tape, year one. And you know what I mean? Like year one holds such a weight to it, and I feel like this Green Arrow story carries that weight and just holds it up so high. And man, it's just Andy Diggle did a great job with this. Jock, like, what's crazy? It's like looking at Jock's art in this and comparing it to now, like you can totally see like the progression and like how much it's changed. I'm not saying it's bad, but how much it's changed and how much more
he's more experimental.
He's more experimental now. He's definitely more experimental. Definitely like mixed mediums and doing all that stuff. But this right here, like this is one of visually it captures it captures exactly how you how it visually captures exactly how it would feel like, how it would be like if you were in complete survival mode, and just that bit of loneliness that just, oh man, it's just prevalent throughout this whole thing. Because even in the beginning of the story, where like he's like, you know, he's an adrenaline junkie, he's doing all this stuff, like all the women, all that, but at the end it's just like it's really just a picture of a lonely guy, you know, throughout the entire thing, that finally discovers himself, that finally feels complete. And at the end of the book, where does it end? It ends in Star City, him again by himself. You know, it's such a freaking dope book. Pick it up.
Yeah, phenomenal. Go pick it up. Definitely stay tuned for more Green Arrow stuff from Dylan and I. And make sure you follow us on social media. The links are down below. Hit the subscribe button so you're notified every time a new vid drops. And on that note, we're out.
Later, buds.